Last night was a wild night at Fenway. Dave Tremblay, the manager of the Orioles, ejected early. 3-hit batsman by Orioles pitching. A second chance late for the Red Sox after a Mora error. But in the end, the Red Sox just came up a little short.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Fenway Park.
They struck him out, and the Red Sox win. Welcome to Fenway Park for the middle game of the three-game series between the Baltimore Orioles and the Red Sox. Hi again, everybody. I'm Don Orsillo. Welcome to Red Sox baseball. September the 1st usually means the Red Sox will call up a couple of different guys from Pawtucket. This year, with some injuries on the club, the Red Sox call up 6 different players from the Paw Sox. We check out the newcomers: Craig Breslow, a lefty in the pen; Clay Buckholz, who makes his second Major League start tonight. Brian Corey was with the Red Sox last year, and righties hit just .209 against him. Royce Clayton, with over 2,000 games in the Major Leagues, joining the Red Sox. Jacoby Ellsbury is back. He hit .316 in 7 games with Boston earlier this season. And Brandon Moss, who gets a start tonight, and was the 2007 Paw Sox MVP in left field tonight. We welcome in Jerry Remy, and tonight, Jerry, we see Clay Buckholz in his second MLB start.
Well, Don, because of Wakefield missing the start last night, tonight was supposed to be Tavares' night. Of course, he had to get moved up, so Clay Buckholz gets his second Major League start. And quite frankly, I thought he did a very good job at his first start back on August 17th against the Angels. We look in the right-hand column, you see his minor league numbers between Portland and Pawtucket this season. But what he showed, I thought, in that first game was great command of his pitches. His fastball, his curveball, and his changeup. He showed great confidence out there. And I would imagine making his second start, even though this is September now for the Red Sox, he won't be quite as nervous as he was the first time out. You know, you mentioned a lot of the call-ups, and usually when you're in first place, you don't see that many right away. But the fact is, there's a need for the Red Sox. They've got a lot of injuries. You've got Manny out of there right now. Kelty's been struggling with an injury. That's why you see guys like Ellsbury and Moss being called up. And now you got a rookie, Buckholz, making a big start for the Red Sox tonight, try to stop this losing streak.
Now the Red Sox looking to bounce back tonight in Game 2 of the series. The first pitch from Fenway is next. Boston Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, New England Subaru dealers, Foxwoods Resort Casino, Rico, Pepsi, and by New England Toyota dealers. And good evening once again, everybody. Welcome back to Fenway Park as the Red Sox take the field on a cool evening. Feels like fall here in Boston as Clay Buckholz heads to the mound. Let's check out the visiting Baltimore Orioles starting 9, brought to you by Rico. Leading it off for the Orioles is Brian Roberts at second base. It's Corey Patterson at center field, Nick Markakis in right. Miguel Tejada at shortstop, Kevin Millar, the designated hitter. Aubrey Huff at first base with Scott Moore at third base. J.R. House does the catching. He bats 8th. And batting 9th is Jay Payton. On the mound tonight as Infinity brings us the starting pitcher. It's right-hander Clay Buckholz.
From Portland to Pawtucket to Boston. Of course, at Pawtucket this year, 1-3 with a 3.96 ERA. That was in 8 games. Down at Portland, 7-2 in 16 games. And in one game with the Red Sox, he picked up the win against the Angels. In that game against L.A., went 6 innings, allowed 8 hits and 3 earned runs. He walked 3 and struck out 5. Won his Major League debut, and tonight going against the Baltimore Orioles. The Red Sox defense is brought to you by Boston area Lexus dealers. They are currently 4th in the American League with 72 errors on the season. Mike Lowell at third base, Julio Lugo the shortstop, Dustin Pedroia at second, and Kevin Youkilis at first. Left to right, Brandon Moss just called up today. Coco Crisp and Bobby Kelty, and Jason Veritek doing the catching for Buckholz.
The umpiring crew, Joe West has the plate tonight. Ed Rapuano at first base, Ed Hickox at second base, and C.B. Bucknor, the umpire, at third. Where available, this telecast can be heard in Spanish by selecting the SAP button on your television remote. Enjoy the game.
Buenas noches, amigos.
The comfortable conditions here tonight on the cool side. 74 degrees the temperature. Feels cooler than that with a light breeze that has been blowing in for the most part today. And no precipitation in the forecast tonight. It is currently clear, not a cloud in the sky. As the lights are on at Fenway Park, and it's the return of Clay Buckholz. Of course, Tim Wakefield going down with a back problem last night. This was to be Julian Tavares' start, but Julian started last night
And we see Buckholz for the second time.
Well, Don, as you highlighted in the open tonight, a lot of call-ups today for the Red Sox, and a lot of it out of necessity because of injuries. Manny, of course, hurt. Kelty not 100%, so a couple of outfielders called up. Brandon Moss making the start tonight in left field, and of course Buckholz because of Wakefield being pushed back, and Tavares starting last night. He gets his second major league start tonight against Baltimore. So a lot of moves for a team that's in first place.
Well, here's Brian Roberts to get the night started. The Orioles second baseman and leadoff hitter. And the first pitch of this one. In there for strike one over the outside corner.
The pitches we saw last time from Buckholz was the fastball, the curveball, and the changeup.
Roberts at 304, 10 homers, 49 runs batted in. He was 0 for 4 with 2 walks in the ball game last night. All the hits that the Orioles were able to rack up, he did not have one of them from the top spot of the O's order. As Buckholz starts off ahead with 2 quick strikes. Roberts is hitless in his last 2 games for just the second time. Pitch outside, it's 1-2. Roberts signing a 2-year contract extension will take him through 2009. The All-Star second baseman for the Orioles. Corey Patterson, the speedy center fielder, waits on deck. Sliced foul. The count hangs at 1-2. The Orioles able to snap their 9-game losing streak in last night's action.
And it took some doing to do that. Red Sox were banging at the door, and of course the double play ball to end the ball game and give the Orioles the first victory in quite some time.
Dave Tremblay was not around to see the end of last night's game. He was ejected early in the contest last night. First ejection as a manager. Well, Brandon Moss will move into left center and back to the track to make the catch for the first out.
I was told today that the reason that Tremblay got ejected last night is that, of course, he was arguing the obstruction play, which was not called. But what really made him angry, and comes from people who surround the Orioles, he has never in his life cursed at an umpire. And apparently the umpire West did curse at him, and that's what really got him hot. And I guess in all the years he's managed in the minor leagues, never once has he cursed at an umpire. And then when that happened to him, that's when he really got hot. Interesting.
It was Joe West who threw him out. West has the plate tonight. Longtime major league umpire. The 1-0 is tap foul off to the left just by the Orioles dugout.
A couple of changeups from Buckholz, but both of them have been up in the zone. It's the pitch that Roberts hit for the out. That changeup a little bit high. That's something he's going to work on and get down around the knees.
Strike 2 to Corey Patterson, and it's 1-2.
Of course, none of these batters in this Oriole lineup have ever faced Clay Buckholz. So everything new the first time around.
Outside, it's 2-2 in his first outing. Became the youngest Red Sox pitcher to win his debut as a starter since 1999, when Juan Pena made his start. Pena was 21 at the time. Buckholz 23. And look at that first outing for him against the Angels. A 6-inning effort and victory. Chop to third, handled by Lowell. On to first, and there's 2 down.
Now, a number of off-speed pitches, and then back to Patterson, a changeup, a curveball, then a little bit late on the fastball. As Buckholz fastball about 92, the late swing and the tap down to third base to Mike Lowell.
Two down for Nick Markakis. Markakis at 294, 16 homers, 89 runs batted in. Hit a home run here last night. 3 for 5. And had a 3-run shot as he sends this one foul down the left field line. That's why you bring a glove. Nice grab. Markakis with a 3-run shot off Mike Timlin. The milestone outing for Timlin, his 1,000th appearance. One he'd likely like to forget after a tough outing last night. The time put the Orioles on top 9-3. Of course, the Red Sox losing 9-8. No pitch inside and hit is Markakis.
0-1 fastball trying to get inside on Markakis and gets him right off the back, right off the one on that uniform, the back with the uniform 21.
So Markakis at first, 2 down. And here's Miguel Tejada. 306, 17 homers and 69 runs batted in. Tejada hitting a home run here last night as well. He's 2 for 4 with a double and a 2-run shot in last night's game. He's being activated from the disabled list on July 27th. He has hit at 304. As he takes strike 1 from Buckholz. So look at Tejada's home run last night. His 17th home run of the season. And a 2-run shot off Julian Tavares. Tavares lasting just 3 1/3 in last night's outing. Starting in place of the injured Tim Wakefield. Hard hit, caught diving at second as Pedroia picks it in the air for the final out of the top of the first. Red Sox coming up. Happy birthday. Red Sox coming to bat here in the bottom of the first inning. As on the mound, starting pitcher is brought to you by Infinity. It is Garrett Olson.
Spent most of the year down at AAA Norfolk, was 9-7 there. He's made 5 starts, as you can see, and is 1-2. This is the 3rd time he's been called up by the Orioles, and his 2nd start against the Red Sox. He lost the game in Baltimore, going 6 1/3, giving up 8 hits and 4 earned runs, 6 walks against Boston, and 6 strikeouts.
Julio Lugo leading it off. We're in the first inning for the Red Sox. Lugo starts tonight hitting at .235 with 6 homers and 64 runs batted in.
It's a game we did not do that he pitched in. It was a Fox Saturday afternoon game.
Now towards left center field, Corey Patterson back there to make the catch. He steps onto the dirt of the track for out number 1. Let's check out the rest of the Red Sox starting 9, brought to you by New England Dodge Dealers. Dustin Pedroia batting second at second base. David Ortiz, a designated hitter. Mike Lowell at third base with Kevin Youkilis at first base. Jason Varitek does the catching. Bobby Kelty in right field. Coco Crisp in center. And Brandon Moss getting the start in left field tonight for Boston. 1 out, and Dustin Pedroia standing in. Pedroia starting the night hitting at .321, 6 homers and 42 runs batted in.
That's good enough for 9th in the league. Lowell is 7th in the league, and Ortiz is 10th in the league in batting average.
To left, Payton coming on. He makes the catch on the line drive, hit hard, but at Payton 2 down.
Oriole defense is brought to you by New England Ford dealers. They remain first in the league with only 68 errors on the season. Scott Moore at third base, Miguel Tejada the shortstop, Brian Roberts at second, Aubrey Huff the first baseman, left to right Jay Payton, Corey Patterson, and Nick Markakis, and J.R. House doing the catching for Olson.
Two down for David Ortiz. Poppy hitting at .319, 26 homers, 90 runs batted in. As he takes ball 1. Time now for the Coors Cold Blast. Big Poppy getting it started last night for the Red Sox. Solo shot into the bullpen. His 26th home run of the year off Radimus Liz. Tries to hold up, but goes around, evening the count at 1-1.
Scouting reports I saw on Olson say that his slider is his best pitch, and that's what he just threw right there to David Ortiz.
Outside 2-1. Last time out throwing 107 pitches. Garrett Olson. There's a strike on the outside corner. The count 2-2.
As that slider again on the outside part of the plate to run the count to deuces.
Close with ball 3, and it's a full count. Lowell batting the cleanup spot, still in the absence of Manny Ramirez. Ball 4, he walks in. So then first goes Big Papi. Red Sox have their first base runner of the night. Boston Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by WB Mason. It's a September to remember with their new What a Bargain Super Clearance Center. Two down, Ortiz at first, and Mike Lowell coming up. Making the cleanup spot, hitting at .326 with 17 homers, 94 runs batted in. Fouls it off to the right. Oh, the 13-gamer coming in tonight, hitting at .460 during the hitting streak with a home run, 13 RBIs. And had 3 hits in the game last night, going 3 for 5 in the first game of the series. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
Saw Buckholz leave a couple of changeups high in the first inning, and also now Olson leaving a changeup high, but no contact from Mike Lowell.
Able to hold up, and it's 1-2 now to Lowell. 13-gamer for Lowell. He's hit safely in 27 of the last 29 games. And hitting at .393 in the month of August. Inside 2-2. Yankees playing day baseball today. They beat Tampa Bay 9-6. So lead for the Red Sox, 4.5 games to begin tonight's action. Yankees bouncing back after a tough loss last night. Down the line and a foul ball. Indication by C.B. Buckner.
Now CB had to do some fancy footwork to get out of the way of that line drive. It took him a while, but he made the right call. Line shot by Lowell down that third base line, right about where Buckner's standing. And the ball drops right in front of him. Pretty easy call for him to make, looking right down at it.
Short lead at first for Ortiz, held on by Huff. As Lowell strikes out to end the bottom of the first. We played one scoreless from Fenway.
This year, Sylvania is supporting the United Way Hits for Charity. For every hit the Red Sox get, Sylvania will donate $25 during the regular season. For the month of August, Sylvania will donate $7,250 for a season total of $32,350.
Top half of the second inning, Kevin Millar, Aubrey Huff, and Scott Moore scheduled to face Clay Buckholz. Got through the first inning, giving him just the hit batsman in the inning. One base runner for the Orioles so far tonight through 14 pitches. And hard stuff inside, missing for ball 1. Millar, the DH after starting defensively last night at first base. It's a .261. 14 homers and 57 runs batted in. He was 0 for 4 with a walk here last night. Inside again, he stayed there for the most part. It's 3-0. The Orioles wrapping up in August. It was very tough for them. They were just 9-19 in the month of August. We talked about their homestand, just going 1-9 in a 10-game homestand before coming here to Boston. Strike to Millar, and it's 3-1. Orioles today recalling starting pitcher Garrett Olson, of course. Scott Moore, who's in the lineup, and a right-handed pitcher, Rocky Cherry, all September call-ups.
Both of those guys coming over in a deal for Traxel from the Cubs.
Fouled off, full count. Scott Moore getting the start at third base. And he'll be batting third in this inning. Swing and a miss. Buckholz got down 3-0. Comes back to strike out Millar. First K of the night for Buckholz.
Looked like a good over-the-top sinking fastball from Buckholz. Staying inside that hold at bat against Kevin Millar. Veritek and Buckholz by design trying to work Millar inside with the fastball, and it pays off with a strikeout.
One down for Aubrey Huff, the first baseman tonight. To left field, Moss on the sinking liner makes the catch, below the cap high, 2 down.
The Sox for Sox drive is underway here at Fenway Park. If you have tickets for tomorrow's game, bring a new pack of white cotton socks to Fenway to benefit Boston Healthcare for the Homeless. For complete information, check out NESN.com.
Two down here in the top half of the second inning brings up Scott Moore, who was 0 for 5 with the Cubs in the majors, spending the year at AAA Iowa primarily. And of course, a part of that Steve Traxel deal that you mentioned. Pitch in there for strike one from Buckholz. Numbers from Iowa. 265 and 19 homers and 69 runs batted in. Acquired just yesterday. Swing and a miss. His first major league action in September of last year, playing in 16 games with the Cubs. Tried to hold up. Looked like he may have gone around. See if they check. They do, and he did not, says C.B. Buckner. Wow, I thought he did. 1-2.
Buckholz snapping off the curveball, and let's see. Nope. That looks like a good call.
So CB right on it. So he pitched 25 for Buckholz. 1-2 the count to Moore. Got him that time. 2 Ks in the inning, 2 Ks in the night. 1-2-3 inning. Scoreless from the fans.
Put your summer on ice when Andy Brickley hosts a Bruins Classic beginning at 9:30 tomorrow night. It's 2 classic games in the Bruins-Canadiens rivalry. First, the game that broke the curse in 1988 at the Forum, and then a double overtime thriller in 2004 that Glenn Murray will never forget. Cool down tomorrow night at 9:30 with Bruins Summer Sunday.
Last half of the second inning scoreless at Fenway. Kevin Buckholz, Jason Veritek, Bobby Kelty ready to go here in the bottom of the second inning against Garrett Olson. Buckholz hitting at .290, 14 homers and 72 runs batted in.
Have you noticed tonight that my promo reading has slowed down a little bit?
I hadn't noticed. Did you?
We have meetings after every single game with our producer Russ Ken. It takes probably 45 minutes to an hour after the game's over, and of course we go over everything that goes on in the game. My analyzing stinks as normal, but I also noticed that I've been rushing through promos, so I've been told to slow down on promos.
You know, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I didn't notice myself until it was played back for me, and I realized that I'm speeding through these things a little too quickly. So
sometimes that happens.
So these meetings are productive, which keep us here late at night, but it's good.
It's kind of tough because we got to go to Terry's press conference first, and then go to the clubhouse, and then by the time we get done with the meetings, a lot of times like at number 132.
When he mentioned that, I said I don't feel it, but then he played it, and I said, yeah, that's true. So I'm trying to slow him down a little bit.
Well, I look forward to your next promo read. As Buckholz down to first base on the walk, second walk given up by Olson. Sent it down to Tina Cervasio. Tina.
Last night, Don, in the 6th inning, we saw it live when Coco Krish crashed into the center field wall. We saw the replay so many times. We could tell he was hurting. So did Terry Francona, but Coco felt he had to stay in for the team.
When I went out there, made the pitching change, and I went out to talk to him and asked him how he was doing, and he said, "Doesn't matter." And his point, we didn't have anybody left. But he's a tough kid, and he understands his responsibilities, and he'll go out there banged up, which when you sit where I sit, you really appreciate.
And Coco, of course, feeling better today, back in the lineup. He was a little sore last night, and I talked to him today. You know what? He was still disappointed, still frustrated that he wasn't able to hold on to that ball. He's like, thank goodness Tejada didn't end up scoring on that. He's like, but it's still eating at me. It's still eating at him.
Okay, Tina, thank you. And it did appear he was going to make that catch because he had it in the glove and hit the wall so hard that it jarred it. But, boy, we've seen him play some fantastic center field this year for the Red Sox, really last year as well.
Well, first of all, the play last night that Tina was talking about, when he hits that wall, the ball bounces out, and, of course, hurting his chest on that. And late in the game, a huge catch here by Coco Crisp as he really takes a couple of runs away, which would have made it a much easier 9th inning for the Orioles.
One error in 370 chances. What has been an incredible year.
There's another thing I learned today that I didn't know. Just saw that clip that Tina did. Now, if you look at that, you would think Tito is sitting in front of maybe thousands of cameras in there. Do you know that's a one-on-one with Tina?
I didn't know that. There was no other cameras there today?
There was not one other camera or one other person in that room except Tina Cervasio and Tito.
Well, you get the feeling that was a huge press conference. Pitch down low as Buckholz thought about it, but J.R. House gets to it pretty quickly.
Usually we leave, because we meet, we're fortunate to sit in with the writers, and then we leave, and then the television people get to do their thing. And Tina gets the exclusive, one-on-one. It's just Tina and Tito. But if you look at that pitch, you would think there's 50 cameras in it. That's tremendous access to the manager.
What else did you do today? It looks like you had a lot going on today. You had the promos and
had a good workout this morning. Yeah.
Popped up. And to shallow right, Roberts out. Markakis in. Markakis makes the catch for the first out of the inning. Buckholz back to the bag at first.
A better changeup that time from Olson as he kept it down. A couple of them have been up so far. He's got away with it, but this time he keeps the changeup down. And Veritek popping it up to right field. The breeze blowing in that direction toward right field tonight here at Fenway Park.
One down, Buckholz at first base. Here's Bobby Kelty. Only a 246, a home run, 11 runs batted in. He was certainly pretty bad when Drew came out of the game last night. He went in despite the fact that he was hurting. The back was still bothering him. Got in the game. It stiffened up pretty bad last night. And Terry thought, for all intents and purposes, would not be able to play today. But however, he came in today and said that he felt much better. So he is in the lineup tonight for the Red Sox, starting in right field. And J.D. Drew out tonight. There's the left-hander going, but J.D. banged up pretty good after fouling that pitch off his foot and then kind of rolling it over a little bit later in that at-bat.
Well, no new news today as far as anything broken for J.D. Drew, which is a good thing. As I mentioned last night, I've seen a lot of players break bones on foul balls like that, and they're still calling it a contusion, so it shouldn't be very long that he be out of the lineup. analysis happening last night as he fouls the ball off his right foot, right on top of it. Continued at it bat. And you could tell that he was really struggling after that, and of course had to leave the ball game.
Short lead for Buckholz, who easily gets back to the bag. Bobby Kelty's been bothered by the soreness in his back since colliding with the right field wall. Going back to make a catch and saving a home run back on August 19th. It's bothered him ever since, and it's been degrees of how bad it's been day to day. And after that pitch, and it's 1-2. Grabbed it, saved the home run, and injured his back on. And you can see why he was hurt after how hard he went into the wall to make the grab. And just coming kind of crumbling off the wall. The wall's kind of the perfect height to do some damage. Tried to hold up, did he? They'll check. Yes, he did, says Ed Rapuano. And the count evens at 2-2. Got it right around what I thought at the time the rib area, but it's more towards the back that is bothering him from the jarring of hitting that short fencing. Bounced in and knocked down by House. Nice play to keep it in front of him, and it's a full count.
Once again, trying to snap off that hard slider. J.R. House trying to block the ball. He does, and that'll keep Buckholz at first base. When catchers go down like that to their knee, they try to cover up the middle and don't even try to catch the ball, just block it.
Buckholz takes off, grounded up the middle, out of the reach of Roberts. Buckholz will keep on going to third. First hit of the night for the Red Sox. Kelty back up the middle, and it's first and third now with one away.
Well, Bobby Kelty came to the reputation as a better hitter from the right side of the plate. We've seen that with the Red Sox. A hard shot up the middle. Now you see Roberts heading to the bag because Buckholz was off at first base, but he still can't get to it on the dive. And Kevin heads on to third. So a little first and third action for the Red Sox with one out. You know, we see a lot of the Orioles during the season, and the more you watch Roberts play, the more you appreciate him. He really is a good player. Offensively, defensively.
Can run. Well, the Orioles wrapped him up for 2 more years, 08 and 09. So we've seen a lot of him over the next couple of years as Coco Crisp stands in. A check swing dribbler behind him. Must be 268, 5 homers, and 48 runs batted in. Snapped an 0 for 14 drought with 2 walks, 2 singles in his first 4 trips to the plate last night. First multi-hit game since August 25th. Red Sox had 20 opportunities with runners in scoring position in last night's game. They were 5 for 20 with runners in scoring position. The 1-1 to Crisp. In the dirt, 2-1. Coco starting his 119th game in center field tonight. That ranks 3rd among major league outfielders. And fielding percentage, just the 1 error in 370 total chances. He's 2nd in total chances, only behind Curtis Granderson of the Detroit Tigers. There's Brandon Moss.
Now, for me personally, it's one of the prettiest things to watch, and that's because the angle we have, dead set behind home plate and high. To watch a center fielder like Coco Crisp track balls down in the outfield. I mean, you can see the jump they get. and how much ground they really have to cover to make some of those catches. To me, it's one of the most beautiful plays in baseball. Center fielder tracking down a line drive or a long fly ball.
Last night's ball, I thought for sure was going to end up in the gap.
Yeah, late in the game, yeah.
Swing and a miss. Changes up, and it's 2-2. Just looking at where he started from and where it was headed.
That ball looks like it's headed to the 420. And at full speed makes the catch going away.
First and third, one away. 2-2 the count. And foul. And we'll do it again.
Covidien, one of the world's largest providers of medical devices, supplies, imaging products, and pharmaceuticals, is a proud sponsor of the Boston Red Sox on NESN.
Kevin Buckholz at third base, Bobby Kelty at first base. One down here in the bottom of the second. He has tried to keep Kelty close. The lead's never been terribly large.
Kelty does not have a steal on the season.
Coco chops it to third. Moore will go to second for one. On to first. Not in time. Run in. From third base, Kevin Buckholz scores the game's first run. Red Sox take a 1-0 lead. It looked like it took a little while to get that going as Roberts on to first with the speedy, crisp running. They can't turn it.
Well, what happened is watch the hop that Moore gets at third base. It comes up high for him, and then, of course, the throw was high to second base. And with Christmas speed, we saw it in the outfield. Now we see it on the base paths. Beats the play, gets the Red Sox a run. Kelty trying to line up the second baseman, but he's behind the bag. That kind of protects him, but he has to throw over his head and could not get a good throw to first base. Even with a good throw, he's not going to get Coco crisp.
Coco takes off immediately. The pitch, a strike, throw down, not going to be nearly in time.
That's a great time to run because, you know, you got a little pressure on the pitcher. He just gives up a run. It looked like it might have been a double play to get out of the inning. Go right away. A lot of that concentration is not on the guy at first base at that point.
So Coco in scoring position with two down. Moss with a count of 0-1. Brandon Moss recalled his second stint with the Red Sox. Made his major league debut August 6th through the 8th. Was 1 for 7, made one start. And that was all in Los Angeles. Singled off Scott Shields out of the bullpen for the Angels August 8th for his first major league hit.
Well, Mossy might have faced Olsen down at the AAA level.
Brandon Moss selected as the Paw Sox 2007 MVP as he taps it foul. Led the International League with 41 doubles, too shy of the Paw Sox franchise record. Player profile brought to you by Sovereign Bank, the official bank of the Red Sox cable network.
Is their season officially over, Don, or they still have a couple more games?
I think they still got more.
Can't be too many more.
No. I know they finish at home, but they've won a couple more games left. They finish on Monday. They got to be pretty depleted after today's action. Moss appeared in 122 games in the outfield, 5 at first base for the Paw Sox. Made just 2 errors all season. Pretty good defensively. Outside, ball 4. Third walk. This one gets away, and heading for third base is Crisp. As it got away from J.R. House a little bit, Coco took off, and he now stands at third with 2 outs in the inning.
Now he's having, right now, Olson, some of the same problems he had in that first game against the Red Sox, and that's walks. He's already got 3 in the ball game. He had 6 the first time he faced the Red Sox down in Baltimore.
Of course, the Red Sox lead the majors in walks, coming in with 577.
And the Orioles pitching staff has walked more than any other team in the American League. Sign up now for the Red Sox Foundation's fantasy camp at Fenway Park on September 19th. You will get your own personalized Red Sox jersey, your name announced as you step to the plate and play on the field at historic Fenway Park. Proceeds from the event will benefit the Red Sox Foundation and the children's programs it operates. For more information, visit redsoxfoundation.org or call 617-226-6760. Who is that?
Well, I think the guy on the left is you.
No, I know that, but who's the other guy? Was that Nolan Ryan?
Yeah, it looks a little bit like Nolan Ryan. I thought your read was excellent, by the way. I really did pay attention this time, and it was very calm, cool, collected.
It doesn't matter what you think, it's what Russ thinks. And I'll find out about midnight tonight.
How did you feel about it?
Felt pretty good.
Julio Lugo fly to the warning track in center. Very late time call. We've seen it happen a lot with Lugo. Done it a lot this season. Joe West giving him time. And then Moss at first base. Crisp at third base. 2 down. Popped up. Roberts to short right. Makes the catch, a late lunge, but it ends the inning. Red Sox grab the game's first run, 1-0 Boston. Boston Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by Honda. Olympia Sports, the official sporting goods retailer of the New England Sports Network. And by Dunkin' Donuts.
Had a chance between innings to check out that sign again, and yes, that was Nolan Ryan back in the 70s when we were teammates with the at that time the California Angels. We both look like we just got back from Studio 54 with our shirts all buttoned down.
I noticed you had
tight jeans,
the plunging neckline going there. Yes, J.R. House leads it off here for the Orioles. I like the collars too.
Hey, look at Nolan, right? I mean, doesn't look that big, did he?
No.
I mean, he only threw 100 miles an hour.
Chop foul, 1-1. So we get another look.
I mean, this guy here was the most intimidating pitcher in the game. He didn't look like that big, does he?
I'm more scared of you.
That's 100 miles an hour with a nasty hook, and would throw it under your chin anytime he wanted.
Do you know who the young man in between you is?
I don't. I wish I did. I don't. I don't even know where that pitcher was taken.
J.R. House. He was third among minor leaguers in the Orioles system. 5th in hits, 7th in batting average in the minor league system. Held up on August 13th from AAA Norfolk. Orioles have really moved around their AAA for a lot of years. Was in Rochester, New York. Moved to Ottawa and then moving to Norfolk, where the Mets were for a very long time. A swing and a miss. J.R. House striking out. 3 Ks for Clay Buckholz, 1 down here in the 3rd.
2 of them coming on fastballs. This one on the changeup. I'll tell you, this over-the-top changeup for Buckholz is very tough to pick up. I was impressed with that in his first start that I saw against the Angels, and it's impressive again tonight. He left a couple up early in the game, but that one was down and completely fooled house.
One down for Jay Payton, batting from the number 9 spot. Hits it hard in the ground, but foul. Payton at .259, 5 homers, and 47 runs batted in. A couple of hits here last night from the number 9 spot, 2 for 4 with a double and a sacrifice fly. He was coming in with a record of 59 and 74. They're 20 games back of the Red Sox to begin tonight's action. 5 games better than Tampa Bay. Swing and a miss, 1 and 2.
There's that good changeup again from Buckholz, and again it's down and away from Jay Payton. This kid's got good stuff. Hides the ball well and comes right over the top. Very tough to pick up.
Up top, ball 2, 2 and 2. Outside, full count. And just the 3rd member of Boston 2005 draft class to reach the majors, joining Craig Hansen and Jacoby Ellsbury. Buckholz was selected with the Red Sox 3rd pick, a sandwich pick between the 1st and 2nd rounds. 42nd overall in 2005. In the air to shallow left center, crisp coming in. And he makes the cut for out number 2, 2 down.
Again, he gets away with a high changeup, but you know it's off speed enough where it's really fooling. At least the first time through the order, these hitters for the Orioles. That's it's high, it's letter high, but it's off speed enough. You can see that Payton's upset with himself. He had a good pitch to hit, but he pops it up.
Two down, 6 in a row retired by Buckholz, and it's back up to the top for Brian Roberts. See how the Orioles adjust if they're able to here. 2nd time through against Clay Buckholz. The buck bid down the first baseline. A little drag as Buckholz picks it up, throws him out to end the inning. 1, 2, 3 go the O's in the top of the 3rd. Boston on top 1-0. Back at Fenway, and time now for the Aflac trivia question. Our question will be coming soon.
Having a tough time letting the duck out of the cage.
Trying to fire it up.
The duck doesn't want to come out.
The duck will be with us after Pedroia bats. He fouls it off to the right. And it's 0-2. Have a contract problem with the duck.
They get temperamental sometimes, just like movie stars. You know, they want to come out of the trailer. Well, the duck doesn't want to come out and do the thing tonight. So.
Ball 1, 1 and 2. I have to say this is the first time that we've had a problem with the duck. It's usually been very good come contract time.
Well, think about it. He's so popular. I mean, why not? I mean,
hold out in the middle of the game.
Absolutely. He wants a better trailer. He wants a better everything. Better life for a duck.
On the ground, chopped to short, handled by Tejada for out number 1. Duck says he's not coming out yet.
Well, if he's not going to come out, I'm going to give special birthday wishes to the grandson of Bob Levin. Bob Levin, one of the all-time good guys, has worked many years at Fenway Park in security here. His grandson Michael celebrating his 14th birthday in Bellingham. So Bob and your grandson Michael, congratulations.
One down here in the bottom of the 3rd. Here's David Ortiz, who walked in the 1st inning.
just received word that the Duck, his agent, and NESN are now all in a big conference call.
The Duck is an egomaniac.
Now you just said the negotiations back about probably an inning.
Sorry. Just voiced my own personal opinion.
There may be a breakthrough, I'm hearing.
Three walks in the first 2 innings for Garrett Olson, as the first out here of the third, and a swing and a miss on a 2-0 pitch for Ortiz.
The Duck is asking for a limousine to come to the ballpark now every day. That seems to be the stickling point right now. They've got the trailer all set. Now he wants a limo.
Outside ball 3-1.
What about most Ducks that just come to work in a pond, right?
Yeah.
No. He wants a limo. You know what? He's going to get it, too. He's going to get anything he wants.
He's kind of holding us hostage here at the moment. We have to do the athletic trivia questions. Ducks got to get it together.
I think NESN has to get it together. The Ducks holding all the cards. I think NESN right now is at the short end of this deal because the Duck is so popular that the Duck is holding all the cards.
They have gone. They will check. No. So C.B. Buckner down to first base. Fourth walk given up by Olson. Second time Ortiz has gotten the free pass. Well, NESN has successfully negotiated with the Duck. Here he is. Glad we got that taken care of. Mike Lowell currently leads the team with 93 RBIs to the last third baseman to lead the Red Sox in RBIs. We'll have the answer for you a little bit later, assuming the Duck doesn't change his mind.
Well, Joe Fell caved in. The Duck got his trailer, he got his limo, so he's back on our air.
Mike struck out swinging in the first inning, the only strikeout tonight for Garrett Olson. We'll finish the year last year with 80 RBIs. This season with 94. And this September the 1st with a month to go.
It's amazing when you look at the RBI leaders. Of course, A-Rod, who got off to that tremendous start with a 125. That does not include what might have happened today in New York. Magglio Ordonez second with 119. Ordonez is having a great year. Leads the league in hitting, 26 home runs, and second in RBI with 119.
The Tigers find themselves 5.5 games back now of the Indians. They lost a tough walk-off game last night against the Oakland A's. Trailing 4-2 in that game, tied it up, ended up losing. As this one to left, Payton was playing deep on the sinking line drive, can't make the catch. Ortiz to second, just getting there. As Payton coming on, tried to make the grab as it was sinking fast, could not. And it's a hit for Lowell.
There have been quite a few hardline drives so far in this game. The left field, Brandon Moss has had to handle a couple. Payton just really kind of plays it off the side of his glove. I think 9 out of 10 times Jay Payton makes that catch. Tries to get Ortiz at second, but could not. So a base hit for Lowell extends his streak now to 14 games.
So one down, first and second, and here's Kevin Youkilis. He walked to lead off the second inning, came around to score the game's only run. As he takes strike one from Olson. And by House, but it's a ball, 1-1. Ortiz at second, Lowell at first, one down here in the last half of the third inning. Strike over the inside corner, and it's 1-2. Jason Varitek waiting on deck. Outside, 2-2. Out to right field. Markakis is there to make the catch. And Ortiz back to the bag at second. Lowell to first with now 2 down in the inning. So 2 away. Here's Jason Varitek. Fly to right his first time up. Of course, grounded into the double play last night to end things. Red Sox coming up a run short last night, a 1-point trailing 9-3, and losing last night's game 9-8. Able to get into that Orioles bullpen. Danny Baez getting out of the jam and ending the game. There's ball 1 to Varitek. Kevin Cash started last night's game for the Red Sox. Of course, even after Tim Wakefield was scratched from last night's start, he caught Tavares to begin the game. And Kevin Cash on the bench tonight. And incidentally, they activated Doug Mirabelli before the game tonight. As this one down the right field line, Markakis onto the dirt to make the catch that ends the inning. Red Sox strand a pair. Boston on top 1-0 at the end of 3. We head to the top half of the 4th inning. Well, we enjoyed Montreal when we were up there a few years ago as part of interleague play. And Jerry, I remember how many Red Sox fans were in Montreal for that series.
Yeah, that was one you'll never forget, really. And we had so many fans from Vermont, from New Hampshire, from Maine, who don't get much of a chance to get down to Fenway, where they'll headed up to Montreal for that series.
It's Corey Patterson to be followed by Nick Markakis and Miguel Tejada in the top half of the 4th inning. Patterson bounced to third first time up. Dropped the punt down he offered.
Well, 2 guys back-to-back bunt attempts. Roberts to end the 3rd inning, and now Corey Patterson with the bunt attempt on the changeup. And as I mentioned many times, most guys will time their bunt on a fastball, and anything off speed can throw that timing off.
Patterson down 0-2. Last night 0 for 5, first game of the series. Chops it right side, ranging is Buckholz. Buckholz going to cover, and he just does get the foot down. Going to hurry up with Patterson. It was not hit terribly hard, kind of a bounding ball to the right side, but he's out number 1.
Yeah, both guys had the rush here. Kevin Buckholz with the underhand flip, and of course Clay Buckholz to get over and cover first base because Patterson can fly down that line, and Buckholz just does get a piece of that bag. You see him tag the front of the bag just before Patterson got there.
And down here's Nick Markakis, who was hit by a pitch in the first inning. The base runner so far tonight for the Orioles. It's a fly ball to center field. Coco Crisp settles underneath it. And there's 2 down here in the 4th.
The LoJack Caught Stealing Sweepstakes is back again for another season. Visit LoJack.com/caught stealing for details. To enter to win, LoJack, the only stolen vehicle recovery system operated by the police.
Clay Buckholz, who had back-to-back tough outings with the Paw Sox before rejoining the Red Sox here tonight at Buffalo, went just 3 innings, giving up 3 runs. And then at Rochester, going 5 1/3, giving up 5 runs in his last outing. So the last 2 have been a little bit rough for Buckholz.
You know, sometimes when you come to the big leagues and you make a start, or you're an everyday player and you get a chance to play here a little bit, going back, even though it's not intentional, sometimes you lose a little bit of intensity. Maybe that's what happened to Buckholz when he went down and made those 2 starts. Not saying he was not trying, but you know, once you have that adrenaline rush of being in the big leagues, it's a little bit different when you go back to AAA.
Has to be a letdown.
And he knew he was going up for 1 start, but boy, once you're here, you don't want to leave here.
Well, he's back and pitching very well here tonight in his 2nd major league start. 3 2/3 deep, dealing with Miguel Tejada, lined out to second base, first time up. Center field crisp will track that. A 7-pitch 1-2-3 4th. We played 3 1/2, 1-0 Red Sox. Bobby Kelty leads it off as we head to the home half of the 4th inning. 1-0 Red Sox on top. Kelty, the recipient of strike 1 from Garrett Olson. Bottom third of the Red Sox order in the inning. Kelty, Crisp, and Moss. Coming into the game last night for J.D. Drew, did get 3 at-bats in the game last night. Was 0 for 3. He's got a single tonight as he strikes out this time. 2nd strikeout for Garrett Olson. It's time now for the answer to our Aflac trivia question from earlier. Mike Lowell currently leads the team with 93 RBIs. He was the last third baseman to lead the Red Sox. Rico Petrocelli, 75. In 1972.
It's a little surprising, isn't it? Back to 1972. Third base, of course, has always been kind of known as one of those, you know, home run RBI positions. So for many years, the Red Sox at that spot had Wade Boggs, who was not a home run hitter. Of course, Carney Lansford was there for a while, won a batting title with the Red Sox as a right-handed hitter.
They had what? Scott Cooper, Tim Naring,
Billy Miller. Was not a, you know, home run RBI guy.
Batting champion, but not an RBI guy. Swing and a miss.
How about Frank Malzone, who's in the Legends suite tonight? Now, of course, that was before 72.
What do you think Butch Hobson's high was?
It's a good question. He was sitting a lot of times 9th in the lineup in those days.
Away to Crisp, 1 and 2.
I bet you Mousy had over 75. You would think at some point. Terrific defensive third baseman.
This one on the ground to first base. Huff will take it himself. And there's 2 down. Let's check back in with Tina Cervasio.
Brandon Moss called up today and immediately in the lineup. And even though this is Moss's 2nd major league stint and he had the opportunity to get all those jitters out of the way when he was called up during the Anaheim series, he said today before the game he's still pretty excited about playing in Fenway Park for the first time as a major leaguer.
It's exciting. You know, it's different to be in Anaheim than it is to be here. You know, this is a lot different. This is going to be a lot different atmosphere. I'm looking forward to it.
And before the game, Moss worked with DeMarlo Hale in left field. DeMarlo was hitting a variety of fly balls, liners, foul balls, all to get Moss acclimated and comfortable. And Moss also said that he was going to talk to Manny and get some advice on how to play some of those balls off the wall as well.
Okay, Tina, thank you. I watched some of that today. This one line skips by Roberts into right field. I think he just lost that ball somewhere. And the sinking line drive just seemed to lose sight of it as it gets through him and into right.
Yeah, strange here. Sinking line drive. It's hit very hard by Brandon Moss, but certainly one that the Roberts you would think was going to pick. Topspin line drive sinking, and it almost does look like he lost track of the ball for a second. Goes as a base hit for Brandon Moss.
And Moss at first, his second major league hit. And it's held on over there by Huff. Bunt bid down the third baseline by Lugo. More bare hands. Can't do it cleanly. Off the bare hand. Lugo will reach. Up to second goes Moss. A hit for Lugo.
Yeah, he catches the third baseman more back deep where he probably should be with the 2 outs in the inning, and Lugo just drops a perfect bunt down that third base line. Only option there was the barehanded. Even if he gets it, he's not going to throw out Lugo at first base. So it gives a hot Pedroia a chance with men at first and second and 2 outs.
27 infield hits now for Lugo. That's third in the American League. And with 2 outs, the Red Sox have runners at first and second. They've had base runners all night. Red Sox have left 5 men on through the first 3 innings. And they're 0 for 4 so far tonight with runners in scoring position. Pedroia takes strike 1 from Olson. Weston's 0 for 2. He's lined out to left to Jay Payton. Grounded out to short to Miguel Tejada. Lefts off the backside. Moss back to the bag at second. Left side, deep in the hole. Tejada turns and fires from short left, and he's safe. Just out of the reach of Huff, who had to come off the bag to get the ball, but then applied the tag, or tried to, and unable to slap it on Pedroia. Bases loaded.
That's a heck of a play by Tejada here, and good hustle by Pedroia at first base. A time when he should be diving here to get around the tag. If he stands up straight, they may get him on the back with a tag, but by sliding into first base head first, he's able to get under the tag. Got him on the foot, but the hand was on the bag. But Tejada really had no other option either to go to third or second for the force out. The only option was to go to first base.
So bases loaded for Big Papi, who's been walked twice tonight by Garrett Olson. They go into the shift with the bases loaded. Ortiz takes strike 1 over the inside corner. Outside, a ball and a strike. Career .366 hitter in this situation. 7 grand slams for Big Papi. Moss at third. Lugo at second. Pedroia at first. 2 down. Ortiz jacks it towards deep left center field. Back up onto the wall. Moss from third, Lugo behind him. Here comes Pedroia from first. Bases clearing double for Big Papi. 4-0 Boston.
Now what a strange way for the Red Sox to pick up 3 runs. First of all, we'll look at David Ortiz. He gets the breaking ball. It stays out over the plate and takes it off the tin to the opposite field to bring in the 3 runs. Of course, runners off with the 2 outs on contact. No problem getting the 3 home. But how this all started. I mean, it was a line drive that Roberts could not handle at second base. You had a bunt by Lugo. You had an infield hit by Pedroia. And now the big blast by David Ortiz. 93 runs batted in now for Ortiz on the season. That'll put him in the top 10.
The tip of the helmet there from Big Papi as they chanted Papi. And Ortiz drives in 3 and puts the Red Sox on top 4-0. As Mike Lowell will now stand in, try to keep it going here. All of this coming with 2 outs in the inning. Wilson had struck out Kelty, get Crisp to ground out.
Now how close things happen in the game of baseball and how quickly they can turn around. I mean, the line drive really could have been caught by Roberts, and that's the end of the inning. No further problem. You get a bunt base hit. You get Pedroia sliding in the first base on a heck of a play by Tejada, and then you get the big blast.
Pitch in the dirt. No error on that play, but you got to think that Roberts certainly feels like he could have had that.
Yeah, you know, I agree. It's almost like he lost it because I know it was a top spin line drive. And a lot of times it happens during the day. Sometimes during the day on contact, you temporarily lose the ball from this, you know, somebody wearing white in the stands. That happens quite often, the glare. Night, it doesn't happen that often. Here's how it all started, the sinking line drive, and Roberts just didn't make the play.
Moss able to reach, he scores. Part of the bases clearing double for Big Papi. Roll after the 2-1, lifts it to shallow right. Markakis will make his way in. Puts it away, but the damage done. Red Sox scored 3 times, take a 4-0 lead after 4.
For every Red Sox game that goes into extra innings or the Sox get a save, CVS Pharmacy will donate $500 to Children's Hospital. CVS Pharmacy is the official pharmacy of the Boston Red Sox.
Top half of the 5th inning, a 15-minute wait for Clay Buckholz as his team brings up 3 more runs. Red Sox lead at 4-0 now. And it's Millar, Huff, and Moore here in the top half of the 5th. Clay Buckholz, 46 pitches thrown. The pitching line is brought to you by Nissan. You know, it's good practice for promos, I think, during the offseason, reading children's books.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I take a lot of the promos, the old promos from the year, and I bring them home with me, and I do at least 5 a day.
Inside and high, that's 3-0.
Like I'll read this next one like I read last night.
Okay.
You'll see the difference when I read another one after that.
I'm going to pretend that it's the old you. Ball 4. And a 4-pitch walk from Millar to begin the inning.
On this week's Top 9 Countdown of all things Sox, host Hazel May will show you the best plays in August by the Red Sox, and you won't believe who is sliding in at third base. It's all part of this week's all-new Granite City Electric Ultimate Red Sox show tomorrow at 12:30, right before our live pregame coverage begins.
Oh, yeah, I definitely see the difference. That's.
See, I can thank Russ for pointing that out.
It's huge, huge.
Because I'm actually out of breath when I read it that fast.
Aubrey Huff lined out to left field first time up. Buckholz playing in behind Millar. There's a strike, the ball and a strike. Inside, 2-1. Originally called up on August 17th to face the Angels, just to one and done. He knew it coming up. Able to beat the Angels. Earned the win, allowing 4 runs, 3 earned on 8 hits. Walked 3, struck out 5 in 6 innings. An 8-4 Red Sox win. And of course, it was optioned back to Pawtucket after the game. It was a day-night doubleheader scenario for the Red Sox. And they needed to make room in the nightcap. That was the game in which also that Mirabelli went down. And of course, Kevin Cash was added for the nightcap. Mirabelli going down with the injury and coming back tonight, activated before the game tonight. As Millar takes off, but it's ball 4, and it's back-to-back walks allowed by Buckholz.
Get free Red Sox trading cards from the Boston Globe. Pick up the Globe this Sunday, September 2nd, and next Sunday, September 9th. And you'll find coupons good for free Red Sox cards at participating retailers. These cards are only available with Globe coupon, so be sure to score a copy of this Sunday's paper.
Well, the first 2 have reached here in the top half of the 5th inning. Back-to-back walks, Millar and Huff. John Farrell out there to talk to Buckholz, who's thrown pitches in the inning, but just 1 strike.
Our first bump on the road tonight for Clay Buckholz. The back-to-back walks.
Mentioned off the top, a little bit over a 15-minute wait for Buckholz while the Red Sox were scoring the 3 runs in the 4th. There's Scott Moore, a strikeout victim, first time up. 3 Ks tonight for Buckholz. Strikes him off at strike 1. Swing and a miss. 0-2.
Back-to-back changeups in that second one that had some sinking action on it. When he keeps it down in the zone, there's an awful lot of movement on that pitch. A lot more changeups tonight than the first time we saw Buckholz. Another one.
Wow. Strike 3, and there's strikeout number 4 for Buckholz. Bounces back nicely. There's the first out of the inning.
You know, in the 4th inning, all 3 outs for Buckholz came on changeups. This last strikeout, all pitches in this at bat with changeups to Moore. That was the Bob Store's easiest 1-2-3 strikeout. Bob Store's is your destination for Red Sox gear, top brand footwear, and casual clothing for the entire family. Bob Store's official apparel store of the Boston Red Sox. That's the 1-2-3 strikeout to Moore.
There's J.R. House, who sends one foul off to the right, backing out of play. Buckholz, 6', 390 pounds. Resides in Lumberton, Texas during the offseason. Pickoff play at second, and the throw high gets away. No advance for Millar.
And trying to catch Kevin Millar a little too far off that bag, and you know, a lot of times it's the slower runners that you try to pick off. See Millar's weight, it was all on that right foot. Good time to try the pickoff play. Sometimes the slower runners try to get bigger leads, and they become more vulnerable to a pickoff at second base. Trying to get a bigger lead so they can score on a base hit.
Swing and a miss, 1-2.
Tell you, when he keeps this changeup down, it is just about unhittable. Again, fooling J.R. House with the changeup.
Payton waiting on deck, one down. Millard at second base, Huff at first. The 1-2 pitch. In the dirt, blocked by Veritek, no advance for the base runners.
Change up again, but that time he overthrew it just a little bit, and of course bouncing, Veritek blocking it.
Walked the first two batters to begin this inning, strikes out Scott Moore. And the 2-2 to House. On the ground left side, Lugo to the backhand, a bobble. He goes to second for the only out they could get. After the bobble by Lugo, Huff is retired at second base, and there's two down.
Backhanded play here, just bounces right out of the glove. Fortunately, it bounced right back to his hand, but they can only get the one. Pedroia will not even attempt to throw to first base. Looks like it bounced off his foot and then back up in his hand. A bit of a break there for the Orioles that keep the inning going. Might have been an inning double play.
No chance here for Jay Payton now. Fly to center field first time up. First and third, two down. Payton in his first year with the Baltimore Orioles. He was spending last year as a member of the Oakland A's. Inside 2-0.
See what Buckholz does here, a 2-0 count, obviously fastball count. See if he goes to his changeup, which has been very good for him. Threw a high changeup to Payton in his first at bat, got away with it. It is going to be the changeup.
Stayed up and outside, and it's now 3-0. Top of the order, Brian Roberts waiting on deck. 2 outs here in the top of the 5th. And strike one, 3-1. Buckholz hit a batter in the first inning of Nick Markakis with a pitch. And retired the next 10 batters in a row before he walked Millard to begin this inning. Fouls it off, and it's a full count. Buckholz battling back, was down 3-0.
If he threw him the changeup on the 2-0 count, he might do the same 3-2. Last pitch was a fastball that Payton was way out in front of. Fastball away.
Payton lifts a fly ball to short right. Kelty coming on. Pedroia out. Kelty's under it. Makes the catch. 4.5 done from the Fens. It's 4-0 Boston.
Coming up after the game, it's WB Mason Extra Innings in Granite City Electric Extra Innings Extra with Tom Caron, Dave McCarty, and Tina Zavazio. You'll see Terry Francona's live post-game press conference after this game 2 of the series, plus all the highlights from the Bronx as the Yankees and D-Rays faced off in game 2 of their series. It's all right after the game in high definition, and it's on NESN.
First game from Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Welcome to Fenway as the Red Sox have a 4-0 advantage tonight over the Orioles as Kevin Youkilis leads it off here in the last half of the 5th. Buckholz, Varitek, and Kelty. There's Garrett Olson, who's thrown 87 pitches now and works in the 5th.
While the Red Sox are hitting and have the lead, the Red Sox would like me to give you a little bit of an update on this presidential campaign that is going on right now. The voting kicked off a couple of days ago, August 30th. In the first day, over 40,000 votes were cast. That was actually in the first 24 hours. The voting runs through 9 o'clock Eastern time on September 9th. That's when they're going to take things down to, I think, 10 people. It's a 25 now, I believe.
Yeah.
And folks are encouraged to vote early and often, of course, as usual. And yeah, the list will be whittled down to 10 at the conclusion of the voting period, which is September 9th. So that is the update on the presidential campaign and for the president of Red Sox Nation. It's down to 25 people and a dog right now. The dog is called Big Puppy from Texas.
So there's 2 dogs running, is what you're telling me. You got the Rem dog
and a
you
dog,
got
a real dog,
Rem puppy or whatever.
Big Puppy
from
Texas.
So it's not just a dog division. It's all grouped into one.
No, it's a dog. But there are candidates from Boston, Texas, New York, Rhode Island, Groton, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Oklahoma, Puerto Rico, Japan. So on the top 25, there's a lot of people.
Any surprises that jump out at you at all?
The dog.
The dog is kind of surprising. Buckholz strikes out for the first out here in the bottom of the 5th.
And my poll people tell me that I'm doing very well, but I don't believe in polls, so I will never stop campaigning right to the last minute. Michaela, of course, she's got one of my
Did you vote
pins.
yet?
She's voted many times.
You haven't?
You haven't voted yet?
No. Tomorrow she's playing it.
Oh.
She mapped it out. It's going to be tomorrow morning, first thing. So one away for Jason Varitek. He was fly to right twice. Red Sox scoring 3 times in the 4th. A bases clearing double for David Ortiz. Now his 93 RBIs on the season. Striking the count 1-1. Also with 3 strikeouts. He has walked more than he struck out, walking 4. Red Sox have left 6 men on base through the first 4 innings. Ball 3-1. Olson, 23 years old, will turn 24 in October. In Fresno, California. And there's walk number 5 of the night, allowed by Olson. Let's send it to Tom Karen, TC.
Thank you, Don. On New England's Auto Dealer game break, the Yankees this afternoon, a 9-6 win behind a big day from A-Rod. Alex Rodriguez, 3 for 4 with 4 RBI. Ian Kennedy wins in his Major League debut, so it's a 4.5 game lead in the East. Guys.
Thank you, Tom. Back here at Fenway Park with the Red Sox on top 4-0. Yankees 4.5 back. The Red Sox, thanks to that victory today. This is lined into left field for Bobby Kelty. Over to play it is Payton. Up to second goes Varitek. First and second with 1 down. Red Sox have had at least a base runner in every inning so far. Tons of base runners tonight.
And a changeup again from Olson that stays belt high, and Bobby Kelty with the topspin line drive to left field for the base hit. Almost the identical, very similar to the last start Olson had against the Red Sox as far as the walk problem goes. I mentioned 6 in that last outing against the Red Sox.
Here's Coco Crispo for 2. His action in the Orioles pen. Left-hander is up. Brian Burris. Patterson about to throw his 100th pitch of the night. To short, Tejada to second for one, on to first base, able to turn the double play that ends the inning. We've played 5 from Fenway. It's 4-0 Boston. Refresh your summer with Dunkin' Donuts new iced tea and the Red Sox by entering the Dunkin' Donuts Refresh Your Summer Sweepstakes. Enter at NESN.com today for your chance to win a VIP Fenway Park experience. And the Dunkin' dugout filled up tonight. Red Sox on top 4-0.
Heck of a play by Miguel Tejada to turn this double play. Now watch, he's screened by Jason Varitek here and really has to back up to make it. And even with Crisp's speed, they turn it over. Now that's by no means a routine play by Tejada. He's got Varitek to deal with and that bounce to deal with. Has to back up just a step, but they still get the double play.
Top of the 6th inning, the top of the Orioles order, leading it off. Brian Roberts, who takes strike 1 from Clay Buckholz. Roberts flied out to the warning track in left field in the 1st inning. Grounded back to the mound in the 3rd. He's 0 for 2. Buckholz about to throw his 70th pitch of the game here, working to his first batter in the 6th inning. And misses for ball 2. Walked the first 2 batters last inning. Millar and Huff, but worked around those back-to-back walks. Get out of the inning unscathed. Outside ball 3, 3-1. Strike on the outside corner, full count. Buckholz with 4 strikeouts. He has walked 2. All 4 make it walk 3, and for the 2nd straight inning, lead man is on thanks to a base on balls.
Now, so far in this game, the closest thing to a base hit for the Orioles was this play here. A ground ball to Buckholz, the underhand flip, and Buckholz just getting the foot to the bag before Corey Patterson got there. And it's Patterson now for the 3rd time tonight facing Buckholz, in great speed at first base, and Roberts with 39 steals.
Patterson has grounded out to 3rd base and grounded out to 1st, the play you just saw. Bunt bid as he did last time and rolls it foul in behind him. Patterson, great speed of his own, tied for 3rd in the American League with 36 stolen bases. Oh, 324 since the All-Star break as they pick off Roberts.
Caught him napping at first base. Very late reaction by Roberts getting back to that bag. You wonder if he was peeking in to look at the signs and got caught. We'll see. But he steps off the bag, just kind of standing lackadaisical over there in a very late reaction. He wasn't looking into the signs. He was just kind of, lottie-dotting off the bag. And the quick pick-off move gets him.
Oh, a tough night tonight for Brian Roberts. First, the misplay at 2nd base, unable to make the grab. And it started that big inning for the Red Sox, 3-run 4th. As Brandon Moss's line drive got by him. Now picked off at 1st as Patterson finds himself down 0-2.
Change up again from Buckholz. Down and away. When it's down, it is just a very, very good pitch. I think Lottie-Da might not have been the correct analogy of Roberts at first base, but he was not in his base stealing stance, just kind of creeping off the bag.
To left center, Crisp will go get it. 2 down.
Now it's funny, even it's the 6th inning, and you have a rookie on the mound. Fans are aware of what's going on, and huge ovation for this catch by Coco Crisp. They can sense something, even though it's early. For Coco, that's a routine play.
2 down in the top half of the 6th inning, and it brings up Nick Markakis. He was hit by a pitch in the first, fly to center. And in the 4th as he takes strike 1.
That's the good over-the-top curveball from Buckholz. (12-6). Right at the knees.
Another, and it's in there for strike 2. Two down, bases empty. On the dirt, Markakis able to hold off. And it's 1-2.
I'll tell you one thing, Veritek and Buckholz, they're not afraid to back up pitches either. We've seen changeup after changeup after changeup. Now 3 straight curves to Markakis.
Got him. Strikeout number 4 for Buckholz. 5.5 done. 4-0 Boston. Last half of the 6th inning. It's Brandon Moss who leads it off. The Red Sox on top 4-0. All zeros for the Orioles so far tonight. Moss has been on base twice in his return to the Red Sox and the major leagues. He walked in the 2nd, singled to right in the 4th. Up over 100 pitches now is Garrett Olson. There's 103. And misses for a ball. 1-2. Well, for the Orioles tonight, a hit batsman, and Buckholz has walked 3. That's been it through 6. As a swing and a miss from Moss, he strikes out. That's 4 Ks for Olson. 1 down.
Last batter, Nick Markakis, did not see a fastball in the whole at bat. He saw curveballs and then finally the changeup to put him away. So not one fastball in that at bat to Nick Markakis. And with the pitch count now of 104 for Olson, looks like he's going to be taken out of the ball game.
So Garrett Olson gets the first out of the 6th, and he's done for the night. The pitching change from Fenway. Red Sox on top 4-0.
From the people on the Green Monster comes W.B. Mason's What a Bargain Super Clearance Center. You will save up to 75% on hundreds and hundreds of new and used Allfix products. Located in Boston at 647 Summer Street across from the Boston Athletic Club. There's plenty of free parking. Who but W.B. Mason's What a Bargain store.
Well, Garrett Olson goes 5 1/3, throws 104 pitches, gives up the 4 runs the Red Sox have. His call to the bullpen is brought to you by New England Ford dealer. Visit your local Ford store. Go to newenglandford.com to register to win tickets to the September 16th race in Loudon, New Hampshire. The new pitcher is Rocky Cherry.
Cherry and Scott Moore coming from the Cubs in exchange for Steve Traxel. Spent most of the season down at AAA Iowa. You see the numbers there. Did have 3 separate stints with the Cubs during the year.
Comes in to face the top of the Red Sox order with 1 out, bases empty. As Julio Lugo 1 for 3 at a bunt single his last time up. We watched watched Steve Traxel work, 3 times this year. That was frustrating at times. Long time in between pitches.
I'll say. We got a few games left for Baltimore, too, so
just
glad
as well.
he's with the Cubs.
Good luck. Pitch outside, the count is 2-0.
Actually, that's a pretty good pickup for the Cubs. Cubs with a 1.5 game lead going in today's action over the Brewers, but now only 2 over St. Louis. St. Louis is 1 game under 500. The Cubs only 3 games over 500.
Quite a finish in the National League Central. Well, for that matter, in the West, the Padres and Diamondbacks tied to begin the day. And the Dodgers 4 games back. There's a strike. Lugo thought he had ball 4. And a full count.
Lugo starts to make his way down that first baseline, thinking he did have a ball that was down, but not according to West, the home plate umpire.
Lugo pops it up foul, back and out of play. With Olsen going 5 1/3 tonight, 7 hits, 4 runs. He walked more than he struck out. He walked 5, struck out 4. The 5 that he walked, only 1 actually turned into a run. Leadoff walk for Buckholz in the second. But having to work around those walks was certainly tough. Lined out of the reach of Moore at third, down the left field line to the corner. Peyton will go dig it out as Julio digs for second. He's got himself a run-out double.
Well, instead of the walk, which it could have been on a ball down and in, Lugo gets the fastball on the 3-2 count and rifles it down that left field line for the 1-out double. Very quickly by Moore, and Peyton has to field it off the concrete part of the wall in left field.
So 1 down, Lugo in scoring position at second. Here's Dustin Pedroia, who was lined to left and grounded out to short, reached on an infield hit in the 4th and came around to score. He's got one of the 8 Boston hits.
Rocky Cherry's major league debut came against the Milwaukee Brewers, and he gave up a solo home run to Prince Fielder in the 12th inning.
Old opponents to a .224 batting average in the 3 stints with the Cubs that he had. Originally selected by the Cubs in the 14th round in 2002. Entering this season as the 16th best prospect. Chop foul, 1-2. The Orioles bullpen, the last 10 games, up to a 5.83 earned run average. It's risen nearly a run in the last 10 games. They've allowed 61 earned runs in the last 36 innings. 77 hits in the last 36 innings. This one back off Cherry, kicks out to Roberts, who fires to first, and they get the out. That'll go 1-4 to 3. And they'll check on Cherry as this one right back off him and ricocheting to second. He's all right.
Looked like it was going to be a base hit up the middle till it hit the foot of Cherry, and there's Roberts there to play it on 1 hop. Like a kick save for a hockey goalie, and deflects it right to one of his defensemen for the out. Pretty good, isn't that?
That was good.
Get ready for hockey
I
season.
love when you throw in a hockey analogy. I know you're a great hockey fan. 2 down, Lugo at third. Here's David Ortiz, been on 3 times tonight. 2 walks and a bases clearing double. Ortiz came up with the bases loaded in the 4th, rattled one off the wall in left center. Shot foul outside of first. Now in line of your hockey analogy, it's time now for the fan of the game, brought to you by Pepsi. Phil Kessel here tonight.
I applied for the desk job for the Bruins pre and post. I don't think I'm going to get it, but I applied.
Have you been rejected already?
Probably so, yeah.
Ball 2, 2-1. The Bruins play during the winter, and I know you're mostly out of the country during the winter, which could be a problem.
Yeah, but you could do the show from location. You know, Cayman Islands, Aruba.
He's tried to hold up, but he does go around. 2-2.
Great hockey cities, hockey countries. That would bring a new touch to NESN, wouldn't it?
Yes. From the beach.
We could all have our Bavacquas on, Bruin Bavacquas.
Sliced foul back into the seats. 2-2. Cherry gave up a 1-out double to Lugo. Now stands at third after the ground out by Pedroia. 2 down. And fouled off.
This pitch sequence is brought to you by the Commonwealth Health. Connect to cover your bases. Connect to health. This is Ortiz's last at bat. He takes a breaking ball for a strike. Fastball away. And then the breaking ball that he drills to the opposite field to clear the bases with the double. 3 pitches. 2 of them breaking balls. You see where Lugo is down that third base line?
Wow.
He's halfway home. He's got the third baseman Moore at shortstop, and he's getting as big a lead as he's going to let him get. Right before that pitch, you can see Ortiz looking at him. Look where he is, halfway home.
Eighth pitch of the at-bat, and it's ball 4. That's the 3rd time Ortiz has walked tonight. Now David's been on 4 times. 3 walks and a double. It's 1st and 3rd, 2 down. Mike Lowell struck out swinging in the 1st. He singled in the 3rd. Fly to right in the 4th. Inside, ball 1.
Leo Mazzoni making his way out of the Oriole dugout.
Well, the league leaders are brought to you by Olympia Sports. David Ortiz with 3 walks tonight. And the American League leaders, Nick Swisher on top, 91 walks for the Oakland A's. Then David Ortiz, Travis Hafner, Jim Thome, and Grady Sizemore in the top 5 in the American League.
And David Ortiz also #1 in the league in on-base percentage at .430 coming into the game. On base 4 times tonight.
Rocky Cherry here with 2 outs in the inning, has runners at 1st and 3rd. Just had a visit from his pitching coach Leo Mazzoni. He's behind Mike Lowell 1-0. There's a strike in the count, 1-1. Cherry, while pitching in Iowa, AAA team for the Chicago Cubs, had 7 saves. Was averaging a strikeout an inning. Two and one. Inside, 3-1. Line down the left field line. Will it stay fair? Yes. Off the wall from third comes Lugo. Ortiz into third on the RBI double from Mike Lowell. And the Red Sox take a 5-0 lead.
Four of the 5 runs tonight coming with 2 out in the inning. That's the case back in the 3rd inning when Ortiz had to double the drive in, the 4th inning to drive in 3. Now Mike Lowell with 2 outs gets the 3-1 fastball and keeps it fair down that left field line, just inside the yellow line. And Lowell picks up his 95th RBI of the season.
Here's Kevin Youkilis with 2 in scoring position as he takes strike 1. Youkilis walked and scored in the 2nd, fly to right in the 3rd, struck out swinging in the 5th. In the dirt and knocked down by House. More action in the Orioles pen. Burris is back up. He had been up earlier. Last year's Orioles bullpen finished 13th in the league at 5.25. 5.83 at the moment. To left, deep, up and gone. 3-run home run for Kevin Youkilis.
And he doesn't know it yet. Now he does.
He'll touch them all. It's his 15th of the year. Red Sox open it up 8-0 Boston.
Once again, one of those home runs that hits right on top of that left field wall. And this time they get the call correct. As it bounces back onto the field. No argument at all by the Baltimore Orioles. Youkilis was at second base. He didn't know he was running hard. He sees the ball bounce away. He's thinking about third. Then he sees the home run sign. You can go ahead. Go ahead, Uke. You got a 3-run down.
The end of the night for Rocky Cherry. The Red Sox have scored 4 times in the inning, lead at 8-0. Pitching change from Fenway.
Tonight, after our Red Sox coverage, it's Sports Desk with Hazel May, presented by FW Webb. That's the home of Frank Webb's Bat Centers. You get the latest details on the suspension of Patriot safety Rodney Harrison, plus highlights and reaction from Boston College's season opener against Wake Forest at the Heights this afternoon. It's all on Sports Desk tonight after our Red Sox coverage.
Kevin Youkilis getting his 15th home run of the season, just did clear the wall and left. And on top, with that monster shot, another child to be able to participate in the Mayor's Summer Jobs Program, courtesy of Boston.com, Monster, the Red Sox, and NESN. First home run since June 30th against Texas for Kevin Youkilis at home here at Fenway. So it's been a while. As the new pitcher in for the Orioles, Brian Burris.
Burris started the season in the starting rotation, since moved to the bullpen, making his 30th appearance of the year. He's 5-5.
Varitek 0 for 2 with a walk as he bats from the right side against the lefty. Kevin Youkilis' dad in from Cincinnati. Not too far from where the home run landed. As this one is popped up left side. Moore in on the grass. Makes the catch that ends the inning, but a 4-run bottom of the 6th inning. Another long wait for Clay Buckholz, but it's 8-0 Boston. Boston Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by New England Dodge dealers, Coors Light, and by your local Lincoln Mercury dealers. 8-0 Red Sox on top. Zeros across the board for the Baltimore Orioles. Long waits over the last 3 innings for Clay Buckholz. 22 minutes, 15 minutes, and this last inning had to wait 26 minutes. The Red Sox were batting in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. We'll deal with Tejada, Millar, and Huff here in the 7th inning. Tejada has hit the ball hard twice, lining out to second, lining out to center. And he takes strike 1 from Buckholz. 81 pitches as he works in the 7th. Five strikeouts on the night. He has walked 3 and hit a batter. Batter was Nick Markakis back in the 1st. Inside, sends Tejada down to his hip pockets.
Actually, a very late reaction there from Tejada. It was closer to his hands than his head. And as he went back, ended up on his backside.
Tejada back up the middle. Diving as Pedroia gets up and throws him out. What a play by Pedroia, diving back a second. Gets up quickly and is able to get Tejada for the first out of the 7th. Wow.
Well, it doesn't come any better than that under the circumstances that are going on right now here at Fenway. To see that kind of play being made has got this crowd at his feet. Up the middle, the dive, quickly to his feet, and gets Tejada, who's also diving.
One away now for Millar. Takes ball 1. That's a good by Buckholz. I thought that was ticketed for center field, but Pedroia able to make the grab and then get up quickly to throw him out.
Yeah, the most amazing thing is how quickly he popped back to his feet to make that throw to first base. Once the ball got by Buckholz, I'm sure he thought it was a base hit. Can't believe that he made the play and the out.
A 1-1 to Millar. This one fouled off, and it's 1-2. Imagine one of the major things that happens when you come to the big leagues as a pitcher too is the surprise of the amount of solid defense played in behind you on a nightly basis.
It's the biggest thing I noticed when I came up as a hitter. The defense was so much better at the major league level.
The strike drops in there. Millar's gone. He becomes the 6th strikeout of the night. 2 down in the 7th.
And the curveball doing the honors this time for Buckholz. Gets ahead of Kevin Millar and drops the hook on the outside corner. No argument from Millar. He knew it was a strike.
2 down for Aubrey Huff. He was lined out to left and walked. Sliced it foul off to the left. Three-year-old Clay Buckholz. The 0-1. In the dirt. Did he go? They'll check. Yes, he did. CB says it's 0-2.
Every strike right now is going to bring the crowd to its feet. We're watching something special here tonight.
Stays alive. He gets a piece.
And fouls off a very good curveball from Buckholz. That ball was down, and Aubrey Huff just tops it to foul it off.
Oh, 2 the count to Huff. 2 outs here in the 7th. Hopped up. Playable for Buckholz. Foul ground. 7th inning stretch, all zeros for the Orioles. Time now for a Sports Desk update with Hazel May. Bobby Kelty leads it off here in the home half of the 7th inning. 8-0. Red Sox on top. It's Kelty, Crisp, and Moss here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Kelty with 2 hits, single to center, single to left, wrapped around a strikeout. Is J.R. House going to head out and talk to Brian Burse?
There have been 3 close calls for Clay Buckholz tonight in the Corey Patterson play early in the ball game. Buckholz will just beat him to the bag. Coco Crisp chasing down a line drive off Patterson. But the play of the night so far, the unbelievable play by Dustin Pedroia up the middle, throwing out Towne at first base.
So 92 pitches through the first 7 innings. Hit a batter, walked 3, and that's been it.
And you don't see anybody talking to him, do you? Leave him alone. Afraid to even look at him.
He's on an island right now. Pitch outside, 3-1. Burse came on to get the final out of last inning. Back out there to begin the bottom of the 7th. Left side to Tejada. 1 down. So 1 away, and it brings up Coco Crisp. 0 for 3 in the game tonight, but he does have an RBI. He reached on a fielder's choice in the 2nd to pick up his 49th RBI of the season. Got about to first, and last time up bounced into a 6-4-3 double play. The Red Sox were quieted in the series against the Yankees as far as a run standpoint goes after their incredible offensive attack in Chicago. Back to scoring runs again. 8 runs last night, 8 runs tonight. And Kevin Buckholz, last inning, supplying a 3-run shot. Down and in, and a ball and a strike to Coco Crisp. Been on base twice tonight, waiting on deck, batting ninth. Red Sox getting a run in the second, 3 in the fourth, and 4 in the sixth inning. Wilson giving up 4 runs to starter, then Rocky Cherry giving up 4 runs in just a third of an inning before Brian Burris came in.
In case you just turned the TV on and just joined us in the game, we'll show you what's going on here at Fenway Park. Clay Buckholz in his second major league start.
You know, it's amazing too, if Tim Wakefield doesn't get hurt, this start may not have happened.
Exactly right. It was supposed to be Tavares tonight and Lester tomorrow.
Ball 4, he lost him. A 1-out walk. Clay Buckholz with 6 strikeouts tonight.
Mixing up his pitches, fastballs, curveballs, changeups. And a curveball dropped on the corner to Kevin Millar.
Well, the 6 strikeouts, your Boston area Lexus students will make a donation of $100 for each strikeout to the Brandon Trauma Center. Children's Hospital Boston. So far this season, they have donated $23,000. 1 out, crisp at first, the 1-0. Moss takes ball 2, 2-0. It's nail-biting time. Swing and a miss from Moss, who's had a nice night tonight. He walked in the second, singled in the fourth, scored a run. Last time up, struck out. I'm sure a much different experience tonight for Brandon Moss, who saw his major league action with the Red Sox on the West Coast and at Angel Stadium in Los Angeles. Went for 3 days the first time. Got a start out there in Anaheim. Lifts the fly ball to center field, sending Corey Patterson back. Makes the catch shy of the track for the second out. Tagging and heading for second is Crisp. He'll get there.
Good base running play by Coco Crisp. Corey Patterson so deep, no chance to throw him out at second base. As soon as the ball goes up, Coco reads that it's going to be caught. He'll go back to the bag, tag up, and from that area, Patterson can't throw him out at second base. He said it'd be more important in a 1-0 ball game than an 8-0, but still a good base running play.
2 down, Crisp in scoring position for Lugo. Has 2 hits tonight. Bunt single in the fourth, a double in the sixth. He scored 2 runs, also flat out twice. Ball and a strike now to Lugo. The Orioles in the top of the 8th will have the bottom third of their order coming up. Morehouse and Payton, 7, 8, and 9. Fly ball to right field. Markakis heading back. Will get there to make the catch that ends the inning. Well, it could be a historic night at Fenway Park tonight. Clay Buckholz makes his way back out for the top of the 8th. Back at Fenway with the game summary is brought to you by your local Lincoln Mercury dealers. Red Sox led 1-0 in the 4th inning with the bases loaded as Big Papi stepped to the plate and would rattle one off the wall in left center field. It would clear the bases, scoring 3 Red Sox and putting Boston on top 4-0. They led it 5-0 when Kevin Youkilis came up in the 6th inning. He would hit a 3-run shot, just clearing the monster in left, his 15th home run of the year, right in front of his dad, sitting in the monster seats. And tonight, Clay Buckholz has been outstanding, as that's pretty much an understatement. 7 innings. He has walked just 3, struck out 6. Only batters to reach the 3 walks and the hit batsman, hit Markakis in the 1st. It is Scott Moore who leads it off here in the top half of the 8th inning. Changes defensively as Kelty comes out of the game. Moss moves from left to right field. And into left field, Jacoby Ellsbury returning to the Red Sox, part of the September call-ups today. And none bigger than the call-up of Buckholz, as this one is fouled up 1-1. Just got a piece into the catcher's mitt. Moore has struck out twice. He's gone swinging both times, once in the 2nd, once in the 5th. Strike 2, 1-2. The veterans on the top step for the rookie on the hill tonight.
Change up.
In the dirt, and it evens up at 2-2. Numbers in 8 starts with the Paw Sox.
Come on, Joe. It's a high changeup, but it certainly looked like a strike.
Full count now to Scott Moore. Center field, crisp. Out number 1 of the 8th.
I'll tell you what, Veritek is calling a brilliant game behind the plate tonight. I mean, you know that he's not shaking Jason off for anything. The rookie coming up. The 3-2 changeup again. After missing, which looked like a strike, they come right back to the changeup again. And the pop-up fly ball to center field. This kid's throwing pitches at any time, whether it be curveballs, changeups. You just can't sit on anything.
We've seen a lot of both. A swing and a miss for J.R. House.
That's more of a slider right there, Don, than the curveball. A couple of those tonight for Buckholz. Change up.
0-2. There is action in the pen. To the count to J.R. House. Check swing. Did he go around? Yes, he did. Home plate umpire Joe West rings him up. 2 down.
Curveball that time. Again, the 12-6 curveball that House cannot check his swing on. I looked on the first base. I saw Rob Iwano shaking his head yes, but West didn't even ask him. He called it himself.
Two down in the top of the 8th. Here's Jay Payton, who's 0 for 2 tonight. He's flied to center, flied to right. to Buckholz, who picks it himself, helping out his own cause. Zeros across the board for the Orioles for the first 8. 8-0 Boston.
Right after the game, it's WB Mason Extra Innings with Tom Caron, Dave McCarty, and Tina Zavasio. You'll hear post-game comments from Clay Buckholz after his second Major League start, plus highlights from all the action around the majors on this Saturday night in baseball. It's all right after the game in high definition on NESN.
$8-0 Red Sox. It's that second column, as this one is driven foul off to the left.
Clay Buckholz helping himself, gets a high bounder that's hit hard, but makes the play, almost knocks him down, and just kind of runs the ball to first base. There have been some plays behind him, and he helped himself right there.
102 pitches for Buckholz. Pedroia fooled on the pitch, down 0-2. Pedroia, Ortiz, and Lowell to bat here in the 8th. And nobody moving in this capacity crowd as they prepare for the 9th.
Yeah, this is an inning where I have no interest in watching the Red Sox hit.
This goes along with your forfeit rule.
I want to go to the 9th.
Bouncing in, kicking off House, 1-2. Ryan Burris came on. And in the 6th, he pitched the 7th. So 24 pitches, back out for the 8th. 2-2 to Pedroia.
In the 9th, Roberts, Patterson, Markakis, the top of the lineup.
And sitting alone once again, Clay Buckholz.
Nobody's talked to him for 3 innings.
To center field, a base hit for Pedroia. His second hit of the night. Here comes Big Poppy, who's been on base 4 times in the game tonight. 2 walks. Bases clearing double to knock in 3 runs and a walk in the 6th. Olson, the starter tonight for the O's, 5 1/3, 4 runs. Rocky Cherry was rocked in a 1/3 of an inning, giving up 4 runs. Held off 1-1. Ball 2, 2-1. I wondered what the difference would be with Manny Ramirez out of the lineup over the last few days. And it has led to a lot of walks for David Ortiz, 3 of them tonight. It's a fly ball this time to right. In comes Markakis. And Ortiz retired for the first time tonight.
Stay tuned after the game for Granite City Electric Extra Innings Extra with John Karen, Dave McCarty, and Tina Zavascio, who will bring you the view from the manager on tonight's game 2 in Terry's take. That's just part of our complete post-game reaction from the Sox clubhouse following tonight's game. It's all after the game in high def right here on NESN.
1 out, 1 on. Clay Buckholz alone in his thoughts. Mike Lowell with 2 hits in the game tonight as he takes ball 1 from Burris. Ball 2, 2-0. Red Sox scored all those runs against the Chicago White Sox, 46 of them in the 4-game series. Very quiet in New York, but have returned home and returned to their offensive ways. 8 runs, 11 hits tonight. Now Lowell rattles this to left. Payton will have it get through to the wall. Pedroia throws the brakes on. The throw will go behind him, and he's going to dive back to the bag. It's the 3rd hit of the night for Mike Lowell.
What a year Mike Lowell is having. 3 more hits tonight, another RBI, 95 total on the season. The average will climb from the 326 that he started at. He is really in his zone. Extended the hitting streak to 14 games.
First and second, 1 down for Kevin Youkilis. A walk, a flyout, a strikeout, and a 3-run shot. His 15th home run of the year, now 75 RBIs on the season for Youkilis. Time in between home runs here at Fenway Park for Youkilis, as he had not hit one here at Fenway since June 30th against Texas. That's 5 home runs for Kevin coming on the road.
And he couldn't really enjoy it because he thought he wasn't sure it was a home run.
To left, that's in for a hit. To third, Pedroia. Red Sox have him loaded with 1 down. The throw sails to the catcher, and the Red Sox here. Something going in the bottom of the 8th now.
Yeah, it's all Burris too, because there's nobody throwing in the bullpen for the Orioles.
For Buckholz, there have been several long waits tonight, while the Red Sox have been doing a lot of this.
And it's going to be a long wait for Buckholz as Mazzoni makes his way out to the mound. Agonizing. Even the gum behind him won't talk to him. Does not want to be chewed. Separation, isn't there?
It's getting wider. So there'll be nobody left on the bench. Earlier this season, it was Kurt Schilling, the wily veteran for the Red Sox, who made a bid. Tonight, it's the rookie. Red Sox have him loaded, 1 down here in the 8th. Strike to Veritek, and it's 0-1. Jason has flied to right twice, walked and popped out to third base. Red Sox with 13 hits. Jason looking for his first of the night. The 1-1. Swing and a miss. 1-2. We started tonight with the lefty and Garrett Olson, who went 5 1/3. Got this lefty Brian Burris on since the 6th. There's Jacoby Ellsbury has not yet had an at-bat. He took over defensively in left field last inning. It's Pedroia at third, Lowell at second, Youkilis at first with 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th. Red Sox on top 8-0. Got it. Second out of the inning. First strikeout for Burris.
Looks like a changeup from Burris away from Veritek to pick up the strikeout. And Jacoby Ellsbury gets his first at bat of the game.
Ellsbury returning to the Red Sox. A call today. It is his 3rd stint with Boston this season. Rockets one towards left center field. Payton headed back. This is going to get to the wall. From third, Pedroia scores. Lowell's behind him. 2 more runs in for the Red Sox, who lead it 10-0.
Well, it's been quite a night for the players who have been called up. Ellsbury gets a chance to hit, doubles to drive in a couple. Brandon Moss has a hit in the game, and we all know what Clay Buckholz has done. First pitch swinging in the gap, off the wall, off the scoreboard.
Second and third, 2 down in the inning. Coco Crisp takes strike 1 from Burris. This grounded into a fielder's choice in the second, picked up his 49th RBI. Since then, 2 groundouts and a walk. Fooled on the pitch, and it's 0-2. Outside, 1-2 now to Crisp. Red Sox with 1 in the second, 3 in the fourth, 4 in the 6th, and so far 2 here in the 8th. 10 runs, 14 hits. You know, in some sense, Joe, you're thinking enough already. As far as the runs go.
I've been thinking about that since the first pitch of this inning. I want to get to the 9th.
So do they. Chairman and principal owner Tom Werner and John Henry. The 2-2. Pop to right. We're going to get to this 9th inning as Markakis is there to make the catch. We're going to keep it right here at Fenway Park. As Clay Buckholz will make his way back out. Zeros across the board tonight for the Orioles as we head to the 9th. Will be Roberts, Patterson, and Markakis scheduled in the 9th. Well, Derek Lowe was the last to have done it at Fenway Park, April 27th of '02, against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Well, this is a time, Don, as a fielder behind Buckholz, you want to be the guy, you know, you don't want to be out of position. You're nervous. Your knees are shaking a little bit. Been in this situation quite a few times. That guy right there so far has made the play of the game.
And it's in everyone's mind who is on that field right now. There's no question about that.
Well, so much has been made in this 40th anniversary of the 1967 Impossible Dream Team Red Sox. And Billy Rowe in his major league debut. First batter in the 9th inning. Tom Tresh and the incredible catch by Carl Yastrzemski. 2 batters later, Elston Howard. Breaking it up.
And by the way, Elston Howard ended up with the Red Sox that year.
Again on a night where 2 days ago Clay Buckholz was not scheduled to pitch. Tim Wakefield with the lower back problem last night, scratched from his start. Tavares was scheduled to start tonight's game. He started last night.
Now interesting, I'm watching Buckholz and Lowell. Okay, we got a guy with speed at the plate, Roberts, a bunter. They are not playing him to bunt. I would not bunt. I'd swing away.
Strike 1 to Roberts. Roberts is flied up, grounded out, and walked. One of the 3 walks given up by Buckholz tonight. Close with a ball. 1-1. And a couple of those over the last inning or so.
Sure have been. One was a changeup, one was a curveball.
Swing and a miss, 1-2. Roberts was the last batter to reach against Buckholz in the 6th. He's retired 8 in a row since. Sliced foul. And it hangs at 1-2. 94 that time from Buckholz.
And got the location he wanted. Veritek wanted the fastball away. That's exactly where it was. Roberts fouls it off.
Still throwing hard, even though he's thrown 106 pitches here tonight. Struck him out for out number 1 of the 9th. 8th K for Buckholz.
Where his changeup and curveball have been so good tonight, here in the 9th, the first out with his fastball. Same thing with Patterson coming to the plate. Lowell at third, Buckholz deep. Do not bunt.
Patterson's 0 for 3 in the game tonight. He has grounded out twice and lined out. The outfield straight away. In the dirt, and it's 2-0.
2-0 tonight does not mean you're going to get a fastball from Clay Buckholz.
Joe West out to clean off the plate. Curt Schilling, who was so close earlier this season in his start in Oakland, watching the rookie on the hill tonight for the Red Sox. There's a strike, and it's 2-1.
No fastball. 2-0 changeup from Buckholz. He's been able to throw that pitch whenever he's wanted to tonight.
Patterson to center field, crisp, moving over, 2 down in the ninth. 1 out away. A win in his first Major League outing against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And now this in his second Major League outing. 2 down in the ninth. Nick Markakis the batter. Ball 1. 92 that time from Buckholz.
The 2 outs that he's got to Markakis both times have been on changeups. A fly ball to center and a strikeout.
The 1-0. Strike on the outside corner, 1-1.
You have not been able to guess with him all night long. A beautiful job of mixing up all his pitches.
And that's been the problem if you're a Baltimore Oriole tonight. One to Markakis. Check swing foul. He's a strike away.
Well, if he follows the same pattern, he's going to see a changeup. We'll see what Veritek calls.
One and 2 the count to Nick Markakis, 2 down in the ninth. All zeros tonight for Baltimore.
Curveball.
The 1-2 pitch. He struck him out. Clay Buckholz has thrown a no-hitter in Boston tonight, and it sends Fenway into a frenzy. Let's send it down to Tina Savasio with the man of the hour.
Clay Buckholz, your second Major League start, and you no-hit the Baltimore Orioles. What is going through your mind right now?
I don't even know right now. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's all I can say right now.
Now, as a rookie, and again, you don't have experience on a Major League mound. You had your first one here a few weeks ago, August 17. How are you able to stay within yourself with this Fenway crowd cheering you on, especially in the ninth inning?
I don't have an answer for that question either. I'm in a little blur right now.
What kind of game plan did you and Jason Veritek have coming into this game, and how did he call this game for you?
Just starting off with strike one, and if it didn't work, trying to throw some off-speed pitches for strikes and get some swings and misses or some ground balls, and it worked out in my favor.
What was the scariest moment?
Probably all the line drives that Coco had to catch in outfield.
How impressed were you with the defense, those plays by Coco, and also that play Pedroia made?
I mean, that was the turn in the game for me. I mean, seeing him make that diving catch and throwing it out at first, that's a place that you dream about making in a baseball game, and he made it.
Clay, your parents were here for your Major League debut. Where are they watching the game tonight?
They're back home in Beaumont, Texas, actually.
Clay Buckholz, it's impressive enough to be 2-0 in 2 Major League starts. Congratulations on your no-hitter tonight.
Thank you.
Don Orsillo, back to you.
Thank you, Tina. A historic night tonight at Fenway Park. And the rookie doing it for the first time in Red Sox history. 10-0. Boston wins it, and the no-hitter by Clay Buckholz.
And the final pitch of the game, a curveball looking for Markakis for the final out. I'll tell you what, Don, this is one of the best stories I've ever seen.
The guys who drafted him enjoyed the experience just as much as his teammates did. WB Mason's extra innings is right around the corner, so stay with us. Try and I'll be back here at Fenway right after this. Boston Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by New England Ford Dealers, Sovereign Bank, the official bank of the Red Sox cable network, Nissan, Bacardi, and by Southwest Airlines.
Well, the Red Sox win at 10-0, but the story, Clay Buckholz. The play of the game is brought to you by Foxwoods Resort Casino, and it's the final out of the ball game. The no-hitter completed by Buckholz. He puts away Dick Markakis on a curveball, and a tremendous night here at Fenway Park.
For Jerry Remy and Tina Sabasio, I'm Don Orsillo saying goodnight from Fenway Park. Join us again tomorrow afternoon for the series finale. Our coverage begins at 1 o'clock. Visit NESN.com. New England Sports live online. This has been a presentation of NESN, New England's most watched sports network. Coming up next is WB Mason's Extra Innings with Tom Carey and Dave McCarty, live from the NESN HD Television Center. TC.
Oh, Don, thanks very much. What a way to start September. Clay Buckholz, 22 years old, just called up from Pawtucket as they expand the rosters. Wouldn't have been on the mound tonight if not for the injury to Tim Wakefield. But he took the mound, and he took a little piece of Red Sox history with him. The first rookie to ever throw a no-hitter for the Boston Red Sox. We will have complete reaction from Fenway Park, the clubhouse, all the press conferences coming up, as I'm joined by Dave McCarty for WB Mason's Extra Innings right after this.